So I regret to inform everybody that Larry did not bring any food. So if any of you came to sample, sorry about that. But anyway, he's got a lot of other good things here, like pictures and great conversation. Good afternoon. Welcome to Politics and Prose. I'm Brad Graham, the co-owner of the bookstore, along with my wife, Lissa Muscatine. And it's truly a delight to be hosting famed restaurateur Larry Law. Larry, of course, is here to talk about his memoir, Square Moon, One Man's Journey from War-Torn Vietnam to DC's Hottest Kitchens. And I'm sure one of the things he'll explain is why he titled his book Square Moon, because there is a story behind that. Now, is there anyone here who hasn't eaten at Mei-Wah? Anybody? Yeah, that's what I thought. Yeah. Oh my gosh, well, you better get over there. So, you know, especially given the moment that we're in as a nation, with America's tradition as a haven for immigrants under siege, it's really great to be able to celebrate the story of someone who endured a lot to make it to this country and who went on to considerable success. Larry was among the hundreds of thousands who fled Vietnam by boat across the South China Sea after American forces were defeated and Saigon fell. Larry left with his family in 1978 when he was a college student, and they all packed into this overloaded boat filled with nearly 300 people. After an arduous journey that lasted 9 days at sea, they somehow made it to a Malaysian island and took refuge in a camp. Larry's language skills and winning personality, even then, made him a favorite of NGO officials at the camp, and his contacts eventually opened the way for him and his family to seek political asylum and gain passage to the United States. Sponsored by a church in Tennessee, he landed in the town of Irwin, where he found work with a railroad company doing various jobs. He also enrolled in East Tennessee State University, graduating with a major in business and with honors in 1984. The next year, he became a U.S. citizen, and the year after that, he moved to Florida to join his parents and a sister, and he was working in a grocery store there when he met someone named Diana, who was a customer. And of course, she would become his wife. Then in 1988, it was a brother-in-law here in DC who tipped him off that, about an opportunity to partner with a chef and buy City Lights of China in DuPont Circle. And that was Larry's introduction to the, hey, City Lights. Yeah. So that was Larry's introduction to the restaurant scene in this area. He took naturally to figuring out who's who in Washington and catering to their appetites and, yes, to their egos. In his book, he name drops shamelessly. I mean, citing the many prominent politicians, journalists, business people, musicians, athletes, et cetera, who've dined at Mei-Wah. And one heads up, the book has no index. So be prepared to read through it all to find out if you're in it or who else is in it. After a decade at City Lights, Larry sold his shares, but he's still only 42 at that point. He wasn't ready to retire, so in early 2000, he opened a new restaurant, Mei-Wah, on New Hampshire Avenue in West End. Remember the old City Lights had been down in the basement? Well, Larry had enough with basements, so Mei-Wah the original Mei-Wah was on this corner lot on 2 floors, 18-foot floor-to-ceiling windows wrapped around the building. And a few years later, Larry opened another Mei-Wah in Chevy Chase. The original Mei-Wah closed back in 2019, but the one in Chevy Chase is going strong, and so is Larry, ever grateful, as his book makes clear, for the opportunities that America provided him as an immigrant from Vietnam. Now, in conversation with Larry will be Mike Abramowitz, Uh, Mike has had his own challenges holding down a job over the years. I first met him when we were both journalists at the Washington Post. Together, he was my editor. He was a great editor. He was a great journalist. Then he went on to be a director at the U.S. Holocaust Memorial Museum, president of Freedom House, and since last year, he's been a director of Voice of America. We'll see how much longer that lasts. So Mike and his family also have been dining regularly at Mei-Wah, and before that at City Lights. Mike himself, I am reliably told, is a big fan of the crispy shredded beef. Crispy shredded beef. We got applause for that one, Mike. Anyway, please join me. Well, Larry's going to be up here talking with his slides to begin with, and then he'll be in conversation with Mike. So please join me in welcoming Larry Law and Mike Abramowitz.
Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for coming. So I start out with the kind of slideshow, and then we go have a discussion with Michael, and we can have question and answer. Thank you so much for so many familiar faces here that we here. So this is the let's go quick. But this is my family in the 1960s when we were in the Mekong Delta with my family, my siblings. We have 9 in the families. And this is the business school that I was in college first year. And then when I in charge the refugee camp for distributing the food to every refugee every day, we got the food from the Malaysian Red Cross, Malaysian Red Crescent. Yeah. And this is the house that we born and grew up. But you can see the side up there is belong to the government now because they confiscated our house before we even left the Vietnam. This is the boat that we were on, about 292 people on that boat with 2 levels, and then we got through the Pacific Ocean. There is a really tough decision to do that. And then this, they have Block A to Block X, and we live in the Block X. 100 people in that house there. We live 100 people live there. I don't know how we can live there for 13 months, but that's where we were in refugee. And Madame Ann's the one that in charge the refugee for the Malaysian Red Cross. And 45 years later, I got to see her last year. This is the church in Irwin, the First Baptist Church that sponsored our family. And so this is a very small town. You talk about culture shock, you couldn't find a better place than that. But not only culture shock for them, for me, but actually culture shock for them. They never seen any Asian there. So this is the first house that we live upstairs. It's donated by one of the church members for us to live there for free for a few months before we moved to a government subsidized house. And there's the Irwin Record, the only newspaper there that have published weekly. And East Tennessee University is where I graduated, managed to go to school full-time and working full-time at that time. And my mom, I feel so honored to have a picture with her when I graduated out and graduated with honor, so that's very. And this is the president and vice president of our school to come to Mei-Wah and present the picture of the for the school for me, yeah. And this couple is Fred and Barbara Davis, and she's the one that taught me the word honky. Yeah. He told me that he's very proud to be honky, and I said, "What's that mean?" He said, "Well, they don't teach you that word in school," but he said, "I'm very proud to be honky," and as a compliment coming from him to, kind of take me in to be one of them, yeah. And there's the City Light of China. That some of the people here might have been there before when that was in the 1990s. And this is my whole family. I have 8 brothers and sisters. My parents, big family. And then we got married in Miami, my wife Diana. And this is my mom's 80th birthday. We have so many relatives coming. Yeah. This the High Commissioner for Refugee. The lady is from Geneva. She's the head of the World Refugee. But the gentleman next to that, he happened to be the one that in charge of the refugee camp when I was there. Couldn't believe 12 years later, we met him here in the United States. And it turned out I'm probably the only refugee in the whole that got to meet the one that in charge of the refugee camp in the camp. So we were so happy to see him here in the United States. And I was happened to meet Mick Jagger, Jerry Horn. So he was on the USA Today, and I was so happy to be on the USA. That was 30 years, some years ago when he was 51. Now he's still running and singing. He's still rolling. And this my family with my mom. We always visit her. Every Saturday is our Mother's Day. So we come to visit. And that day we have to go to a wedding, so we're going to see her and we take a picture before we go on to the wedding. And this the Pelosi, my daughter used to work for her. And again, I think this is a big deal to me. It's only happened in this country. A daughter of a refugee that worked for the Speaker of the House. It's a big deal. I don't think it ever happened in any country. I'm very proud of that. And that's the Mei-Wah in D.C. We used to be in basement with CLI, but this one we have on the street level. And I always want to meet Ted Kennedy to say thank to him in person, because when I first came here, I learned that he's the one that introduced the legislative that doubled the quota for the refugee at that time. So I got to come here earlier than otherwise. So Harry Reid, that was the majority leader at the time, he said, let's make it happen. So he arranged that. So we got to meet him. And he was so happy to see one of the people that benefit from his legislative, because he introduced so many legislative. But the reason I said he's excited, because a few months later, I met a senator from Illinois, Dick Durbin, and I introduced myself. And he said, oh, you are the refugee that Ted talked about. It's turned out that after he met us, he must be very happy to tell his inner circle friends that about the refugee. And this is the first time I met President Clinton, and the little girl there, that's my daughter. She's the first time she met her. Yeah. And we always deliver food to the president to his after his presidency. So we always deliver food there. And this is the only Vietnamese American congresswoman, Stephanie Murphy. She from Florida. She left 2 years ago, and she was serving 3 terms. She came out of nowhere in Florida and beat the very senior Congressman John Mika in Florida. They become 3 terms. And this the famous pianist Lang Lang. He always, anytime we come to D.C. to perform at Kennedy Center, he always come to see us. And this gentleman, he's a 7'9". He came to Mei-Wah for a press conference, and the owner of this team that thought that he, but when they have a press conference, it turned out that he didn't speak that much English, so he asked me to be an interpreter. So I got there, and when you talk to people, we were told to look at the people's eyes. This you have to look up. You cannot, yeah. And I got to meet, he's one of our customers here, our chief, the Supreme Court Chief Justice, and that is his chamber. So I got to visit him there, and he showed me the conference room where all the justices, when they have a case to discuss, that's where they are. And this is our Mei-Wah in Friendship Heights, which is about 10 minutes away from here. And this Mary Lancho, the senator from Louisiana, she's the one that took my daughter into Workday when she was about 13, 14 years old. And it was a big deal too. And this our very famous customer, he's been there so many times, Lautenberg, he passed away from New Jersey. Rilla Hood is our congressman, our congressman for Illinois, and then the Secretary of Transport. He's the only Republican in the Obama administration. He's a great guy. He came to my restaurant, and we always sit by there, and I talked to him. One day I said, where's your buddy, the guy that his security? He said, no, I let him go home, because I don't want to feel like I'm eating when somebody sitting outside waiting for me. I mean, that's really make me feel so touched that a human being can say that. Somebody, that's his job. But he said, no, I will let him go home so I can eat my dinner. I don't, it's okay. And one day he said, why don't you come to my office to have lunch with me? He's the Secretary of Transportation. I said, sure. 3 weeks later, I got a call from the scheduler, and I came there. And it's amazing to sit down one-on-one to have them. And the people there thought that I was some new ambassador from Vietnam or China. why you have lunch one-on-one with the sitting transportation secretary? But he's a great guy here. Yeah. And we always served the Clinton many years, even after his presidency. And this the person was at the Christmas party, and the Obama at Christmas party, Joe Biden. Yeah. And this is at the Pentagon, the Secretary of Department of Defense asked us to come, Mei-Wah to come to the Pentagon to cook the food because they are entertaining the Minister of Defense from China. And here's our crews from the Mei-Wah restaurant. Come, this the kitchen. It's not our kitchen. It's the Pentagon's kitchen. We cook right there. And this is General. He's the General Magnus. He was the deputy commandant of the Marine. I met him at the restaurant with civilian. I said, General, how can people know that you are the general when I take a picture with you? So he said, let's see what we can do. A few weeks later, he invited me to the parade there. And with all the uniform, so that can show that he's a general. And I would attend, they call it FBI Citizen Academy. And this used to be the director of not the FBI, but the Washington Field Office here in D.C. And we go there to learn about how FBI operate and all these things. And I was on TV, Channel 9, many times to talk about Chinese New Year or Lunar New Year, food, Chinese food and everything. And this is the State of the Union. The lady sitting next to me was the 102 years old lady that was invited by President Obama for the State of the Union address. And this is the Tim Cook. We met at the State Department. And he was the one that was the keynote speaker for the graduation of Washington the GW. My daughter graduated from there. So at that time, he was the one that keynote speaker. Before he spoke, he said, everybody, put your iPhone, he mentioned iPhone, you're silent. If you don't have an iPhone, put your phone on the side, on the eyes, we have the biggest recycle system in the world. I mean, for him. So at that time, a few months later, I met him at the State Department, and we were on the elevator together. I mean to repeat what he said at that question from the first floor to the 8th floor. He was so happy that somebody even remember what he said. And this, my daughter worked for the State Department, and the lady there is a chief protocol, Ambassador Marshall. And I graduated from Eastern State University. Later, I got to be on the Hall of Fame of the university. And this when I received they call the outstanding ABC. The ABC stands for American by Choice. People came to this country, you can be the green card holder the rest of your life, but you choose to be America by applying for and took the exam and passed the exam and then be sworn in to be citizen. They call outstanding ABC. And that's the one on my right side is the Secretary of Homeland Security, just left. At that time, he was a deputy. And the other one is Director of the USCIS. This is the outstanding ABC. And then I got a flag from that. They flown every day. They flown a new flag at the U.S. Capitol. And I got, at that time, Congressman Van Hollen gave me that flag. And this is 50 years. I went to college in 1974. You can see how old I am. That time, in last year, we went back to have a reunion with our 50th anniversary, going and this, the river, the refugee camp. I went back to the refugee camp when I was 45 years ago, but the camp are all long gone. But the only thing I can recognize, the river we used to bathe and washing everything. So that's the only thing. And this Madame Anne that you saw the picture that we were left with for the U.S. 45 years ago, and we reunited with her. We were getting old. And the gentleman sitting next to me was the police chief. He's the one that got me to reunite with Madame Anne. He was used to be the police officer at the U.S. The embassy here in D.C. with Malaysian embassy. A few years later, he became the chief police in the Kuching Sarawak. And I text him and said, "Can you find me this lady that I lost track for 40-some years?" And in one day, the police found her, and so we got, And this is Hillary Clinton that came to our D.C. restaurant to say goodbye when we were closing the. And I always love this poster from the UNHCR, the United States High Commissioner of Refugee, because said that a bundle of belonging isn't the only thing the refugee bring to the new country. And the picture of the Einstein, that said Einstein was a refugee. I mean, we came here, we work hard, we contribute to this society. That's it. Thank you. Now, we got to the question from Michael.
Come here, sit here with me. So Larry, that was great. That was a great complete picture of your life. So this is very meaningful for me. As Brad said, my family has been going to Mei-Wah and to City Lights for 30 years. And my father, who died last year, his last restaurant meal was at Mei-Wah. Remember that? We came. It's very touching. And if your refugee boat leaving Vietnam had gone in a different direction, you might have landed in Thailand, where my family was living then. And
He was the ambassador there.
He was, and dealing with helping cope with the Vietnamese boat people. Larry, I only saw pictures of Democrats up there. Do you have any Republican friends?
Well, we have John Roberts.
Okay,
Ray LaHood.
Yeah, but he was in a Democratic administration. How about, has Donald Trump ever come to your restaurant?
I don't think he I don't think he eat anything except hamburger or steak, though. I never heard of Trump went to any Asian or ethnic restaurant. I don't think so.
Okay.
Do you?
I don't know.
Yeah. Don't run into. Yeah.
All right. So there's a lot to talk about. Let me ask you a few really important questions. And you're very crowded on Christmas, right?
Oh yeah. That's
so. If you're
a Jewish tradition.
Yeah. Okay. So I know that. So what's the key if you're Jewish to get a reservation at Mei-Wah?
Well, I'm staying away from the restaurant front because.
Can you get me in? I never can get in on Christmas.
Yeah. Well, people make us in probably 2 months ahead, Tom. Yeah, and we try to.
2 months ahead, you have to make a reservation.
Yeah, for the
Okay,
24th and the 25th of December.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. What's your favorite dish?
If you know Michael, you probably can get it. Just like I know Michael, I can get to the bookstore, the favorite bookstore, right, Brett?
What is your favorite dish at Mei-Wah? So mine is the crispy beef. What's your favorite?
That's one of mine too, and the Beijing duck also one of them.
What do you think the best dish at Mei-Wah is?
Dumplings is the best thing to do to dumplings.
The steamed dumplings?
Steamed dumpling, yeah.
Okay. All right.
Steamed veggie dumpling too, yeah.
Okay. So what were you doing? Let's go over your life a little bit. In 1975, you were what, about 21, roughly, in your 20s? Okay.
Yeah.
And the North Vietnamese took over, and Saigon fell. You were
That's about 50 years now.
50 years ago. That's right, the 50th anniversary in April.
Yeah.
And what were you doing then? And
well, I was a student in college, and of course, all the school closed for that, and it was a turmoil, everything in Saigon, and I was there, and I even drove my scooter to where they have the President's Palace, and where the tank, hit the gate and go to become to the tour. And that time, it's very confused. Everybody know what happened because it's really new to the whole country. I mean, the whole South.
so your family stayed there for about 3 years, right? After.
Yeah, 3.5 years there.
And
after
did they? What was life like after the communists took over?
It's just always very, especially my dad. My dad came from China, so he kind of knew what happened to China after the communists took over in 1949, and he knew what happened to his parents and all these things. So he was so scared because this is something that he learned about that before. So this is the second time that he got out. he was so worried about what happened next because he's a big businessman in the south in South Vietnam in the province of Cha Vinh. Yeah, so he didn't know what happened, and we were so worried about that too. And in school, we used to have to go to do a labor work, everything else. Like,
Did they send you to re-education camp?
no, not us, because we are students. So we were assigned to go to the countryside to do some farm work that we never do before. And so this is something that and the street, the street too. We do everything for that many years after the war subsided.
So how did you decide? What caused your family to decide to leave?
Just like I said, that my dad know they would come to you because every time you hear something noise in the door, he was so scary. Even when we came to Irwin, Tennessee, already with the siren of the emergency side, he was so, oh, they're coming, because they thought that the communists could knock on your door, take you away. You never know what happened, and so that's why he's so worried about it. And at that time, we always have a saying, say, it's rather dead than red, and we decide to leave. And actually, during that time is the conflict between Vietnam and China is getting really worse. And then we are Chinese, so we are not kind of welcome there that much. So we decided, so we need to get out here, and through the Voice of America that year, and also the BBC, the British broadcast. That's where we get the news from, because all the news that we got is just all propaganda anyway. So we got the news from the Voice of America to see what happened outside of the world and all these things. So we decide we take a chance to go.
How much did it cost you to get a boat ride?
Well, at that time, we have my dad. I didn't realize my dad had so much gold during
He saved his money in gold?
Yeah, because in Vietnam the inflation is really bad. So every time they make money, they would buy U.S. dollar or gold. And so the time that we need to live, we have to pay the boat owner and also bribe the government too, both of them. So it come out to be about 10, 11 piece of gold for an adult, and the kids would be about 5 or 6 piece. So it come out our family with my sister and the family, so about 14 people. So it's come out to be a lot of money, a lot of gold.
Was it most of your parents' money?
It's all they got there.
They spent it all to get on the boat?
Yeah, we didn't have anything left to take with us.
Tell us about that boat ride. As I recall from the book, it's about 8 days it took you to get from Vietnam.
9 days and 8 nights.
Okay.
We got
Tell us what that was like.
Because we got on the boat, and the boat is very small. That's 20 feet wide and 60 feet long, and it's 2 levels. Actually, the bottom level is the fishermen that they used to catch the fish and put there. But all the young people have to be on the bottom, and the older people and the female and kids would be on the top. And we are just jammed like sardine. We just sit there. We can, and only one restroom. You have to take time to go back there. And it was told that if anybody, fall into the ocean, to the water, they're not going to stop the boat to rescue, because they could be too dangerous for everybody else. So on the 3rd day of the trip, I was sit next to a gentleman, and for that trip, and I heard his daughter-in-law were crying, and turned out that he already dead the 3rd day. So I'm one of the people who have to throw the body into the ocean, because you cannot keep that body, because you know how long it could be, the trip could be. So we decided to have to throw his body into the ocean.
Did you know where the boat was going, or were you just hoping? What was the captain hoping to get you to?
The captain used to have the one trip from Vietnam to Kuching Sarawak, where he wanted to go. They call East Malaysia. And so he thought about 4 or 5 days we could get there. So on the 5th day, when the captain of the boat was nervous, was worried, that's when I get nervous, because we thought we could not make it, because on the 5th day, we still could not see anything. We don't see any land or any, only water and sky. So he worried. When he worried, I was really worried. Yeah, because, but then because he miscalculated when he go with the big merchant ship, it's different. But when we go a small boat with so many people and the smaller engine, and the good thing about it, when we got out of Vietnam, the boat already got cracked because we hit the coral, and we could not. So the water keep coming to the boat, but good thing that the two pumps that we have on the boat still working. Otherwise, we would be end up in the bottom of the ocean.
Were you pumping?
We need to scoop it out, and I, because I'm one work for the. I was not a sailor, but because the sailor that they have, this actually they're not real sailor either. They are the relative of the boat owner. So they got sick. So I was so happened that I didn't get sick. So I helping them. So and at night I have to sleep on the top of the boat, and I have to tie myself up to those big leggings, because if you fall down, you roll down at night, you sleep, you were gone. So I tie up my hand to sleep during the night. Yeah, and finally we got to meet a fishing boat. Happened to be Malaysian Chinese, so we speak Chinese to them. We say, "Oh, say you go this way." They give us direction how to get there, and so we got there, and we.
You've made it to Malaysia, to a refugee camp. That's great. And that's where you met Madam Ann?
Yeah, and Madam Ann was the one that in charge the refugee camp.
She worked for UNHCR?
Yes, she worked for Malaysian Red Cross. They call it Red Crescent because it's a Muslim country. They don't call it Red Cross, they call it Red Crescent. So she was the one in charge of that. And I happened to speak the language, and so I worked with her.
You speak Malaysian?
No,
No.
not Malaysian, but
you speak English
and
yeah.
Chinese. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
And as I recall from the book, you were going to be on your way to Australia, not America. But then it switched. How did that happen?
Yeah, it's first, for some reason, that camp, everybody wanted to go to Australia because they said, oh, you have a big family. Australia have a lot of land. You can work on the farm and all these things. And so it was okay. So I got accepted by the Australian delegation at that time. And it was a big deal at the time. Wow, you got accepted by Australia. But then the next day they found that all my other relatives, my sister and brothers, family, they all accepted by the U.S. So they said, oh, we cannot keep our promise. You have to go to the, weekends. So they don't want us to go there and then later on sponsor all the family to come over. That's what the reason. I said, well, they have big land. They said, no, but we have a lot of desert too. So, but the good thing, that's a good thing that you see the UNHCR representative, Mr. Roy Yan, he's the one that I work with, said, hey, let's go to the back. I said, sure, yeah, sure. So we went to the delegate at that time from America, and then we could accept right away. And we sworn in, and I think that's the best thing happened to me at that camp at the time.
Right. Did you have any family already in America? Because usually that's something that they require.
Yeah, if you have family, or if you used to work for the U.S. government, or you used to work for the army, the military, then you can get to come. But otherwise, you have to wait for the 5th category, and you just wait for a sponsorship. We don't have any relative here.
I see. So the church in Tennessee agreed to sponsor you.
Yeah, at that time, they have the refugee center in New York City that they collect all the information of refugees from the whole
Which
world.
church was this?
The First Baptist Church.
Okay.
And then they spread out all to the whole United States. And whoever wants to sponsor a nonprofit organization, a church, or even individual, they have some individual to sponsor people. So the First Baptist Church decided to. The reason they decided to, because Dr. and Mrs. Mullins, they used to be missionary in Indonesia. So they said they thought they know Asian. So they decide to decide. The whole city, they never do that. So one of the things is that when one of the lady that the teacher, a middle school teacher of my church, one day called me up, said, hey, I want to bring my student to visit your family. I said, sure, please come, because we don't have company anyway. So she brought about 9 students on her station wagon to see, and she kept asking me, do you want to know why? I said, no, just bring. I love to see people. So it turned out it's okay. Later I said, tell me why. She said, well, those kids, they want to see what the Chinese look like, because they never seen Chinese in their life. So they brought to my house. So we have a good time with them talking. And as what they call the Southern hospitality, we said, hey, you want to try some Chinese Coca-Cola? And all the kids want to try it, and they said, oh, we love the Chinese Coke. at that time, everything in my home is Chinese, even tap water. Everything's Chinese because, yeah.
So, Larry, here's an important question. Your family name is Trung. So, how did you become Larry La?
But Trung is my Vietnamese name, and it's very hard for the people that don't speak Vietnamese to see it. So I picked it Jones. I thought Jones is close to that. But
So, you're supposed to be Larry Jones?
yeah, but people in Owen still call me Jones. And it turned out that Jones is the very few last name that to make first name. So anytime I introduce myself, my name is Jones. I said, "What's your first name?" I said, "Do you think I'm one of the Joneses?" so I said, "Yeah, it's so hard to explain it." But then my Chinese name is Lowen, it's close to Lawrence. So I said, okay, just pick Lawrence, Larry, to be easy. It turned out that Jones still very popular in my family because my daughter decided, my daughter and her husband decided to pick his first son named Jones. Now I have a grandson named Jones, my first American name. So it's I hope he doesn't have difficult time introducing himself later on, yeah.
Okay, I think if people have questions, I have a few more questions for Larry, but then I think maybe in about 5 minutes we'll take some questions from there's a microphone here, so please line up if you want to ask a question of Larry. I want to ask you about the restaurant business in Washington, D.C. So you came to Washington after after Tennessee, right? How did you get into the restaurant business? And the thing I really want to know is, it was kind of interesting that you had this restaurant like in a basement in DuPont Circle, and suddenly it became like one of the hottest Chinese restaurants in Washington, and everyone wanted to go there. How did that happen?
That's in the 1990s. It was, well, first, anything is luck, you luck too. And secondly, that at that time, the chef, he's an excellent chef, and he always want to make the restaurant great, but he always end up losing the first year. So same thing as City Lights.
Money.
No, losing partnership.
Oh.
He got partner, he got broke up. So it happened that my brother-in-law at that time have a Chinatown restaurant, and his wife worked there. So he came to pick up his wife. So my brother got to know him, and one day he said, "Hey, I'm not working tomorrow anymore." I said, "What happened?" So he broke up with his partner again. So he said, "Oh, my brother-in-law can do it, and we can save it." So we become the new partner of City Life China. And from there, and we got in any food, not so much Chinese food, consistency is very important. So good thing that we keep the quality of that food very good, and we cut the consistency. And just like I said, that in the 1990s, it was really the Chinese restaurant, even it's in the basement. We have so many business. Every day we have line up, we have people there. So that's a consistency in food is very good.
Now, you're obviously a shy, retiring kind of person. No, you're a people person. So, and as your slideshow showed, you know everybody. And how much do you think that networking played in the success of first City Lights and then Mei-Wah? Did you do it just because it's fun, or do you think it paid off?
I think the networking is the key, one of the key to be any business though, and I always tell people that you don't sit in the restaurant wait for the customer to show up. You need to go out to meet your future customers too. So, and in DC, I got to go to so many embassy events, so many government events, and everything. So we got to know different people, introduce ourselves, and all these things. I think that's very helpful.
All right, what's the real story about why you left City Lights?
I was in the basement. I don't know anybody live in the basement for a long time, but at that time, I really worked almost 7 days a week, 6.5 days a week. And anytime I go out in the afternoon to do some errands, I always feel the sky that I can jump up and reach the sky, because in the basement usually. So after a while, I said, "Oh, sir, I better get out of this, because if I keep on for another 10 years, I don't know what happened, psychologically or mentally." So I decided I tried to persuade my partners to move on the street level and to open a new restaurant, but they said it's very costly, so they don't want to do that. And I said, okay, I need to move myself out. That's why we are. And then that's the first time I went back to Vietnam.
Okay. Are you still friends with the people at City Lights? City Lights seems to have done pretty well too.
Yeah, it's no happy. They were so happy to get the City Light, the business that we left to them. They make good money.
You mean when you left downtown to come up to Chevy Chase?
No.
Oh.
When we left City Light of China, they bought the business and they're doing so well after that. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Who's your favorite customer besides me?
So, everybody here.
What about tell us about Mick Jagger?
Oh yeah,
That's a good story. You got to tell us about Mick Jagger.
Mick Jagger, I didn't tell the press at that time, but
you got to admit, you didn't know who Mick Jagger was.
I didn't really know who he was. One of the customer, his name is Michael Heller. He came in, he was trembling. He could not even talk. I said, "What happened?" Michael said, "Boy, you couldn't imagine. You have a very important customer in your restaurant right now." I said, "Who's that?" I said, "Mick Jagger." I said, "Who's Mick Jagger?" And they said, "Rolling Stones." I said, "I think I heard about Rolling Stone, but I don't think I." So, and then I came to the table, and they have Keith Richards, Charlie Watts. I didn't know all these things at that time, and Mick Jagger, and Jerry Hall was there too. And they have a big, and at that time you're allowed to smoke in the restaurant. That's in 1990s, but because in the basement we don't want people, so we don't let them smoke. And they have to, Keith Richards and Mick Jagger have to take turn to go back to the small bar that we have there to smoke and come back. I think they like it because this is the first time they got treated like anybody else. Because anywhere they go, they treat him like king, but. And then after that we take a picture. I'm still not sure which one is Mick Jagger. so at that time the Polaroid picture. So I have put in my pocket, and I walked to the other side of the restaurant, and I showed to some other customer. They were so shocked. I said, "When did that happen?" I said, "Just a few minutes. He left already." "Why did you tell us?" I said, "I didn't even know who was Mick Jagger." So the very next days, for some reason, the USA Today came to our restaurant for different thing, nothing to do with Mick Jagger at all. But I just showed the reporter the picture that we took last night. She jumped. She said, "Wow, when did it happen?" I said, "Last night." I said, "Okay, can we water the picture?" I said, "Sure, please give it back to me." I said, "Okay, we return you in three hours." So from that on, when I was on the first front page of the USA Today, you remember. In 30 years ago, USA Today was the only newspaper that nationwide, even Washington Post was not that. And color picture, first time. So we got call from customer all over the country. They call us back, say, "Hey, I come back in a few days. I want you to let me know when Mick Jagger come back." I said, "Wow, really excited." I didn't realize the entertainer is so big in this country. So a few days later, we have a CIA director come to the restaurant. And to me, it's a big deal because I came from Vietnam. CIA is a big deal. And people said, "Who said Mick Jagger come back?" I said, No, it's bigger than that. It's CIA director. I said, "Who cares about CIA director?" So it turned out.
Which CIA director was that?
James Woolsey.
Woolsey, okay.
James, yeah. And
he wasn't CIA director for that long.
No, but he was the time. So I said, "Wow, it's a big deal to me. The CIA director come to our restaurant." But it turned out that Mick Jagger or other entertainers more important than CIA director.
Okay, I'm going to get to questions, but who is non-politicians? Who's the other most famous person that came to the restaurant that you were really entertainer? Someone who's not a politician.
And not entertainer either?
It can be an entertainer is fine.
Well, Mick Jagger is one of
them. You never had Taylor Swift?
No, we have Chuck Berry.
Oh, that's pretty good.
We have Chuck Berry.
Was he a nice guy?
Yeah. Stevie Wonder.
Oh.
Yeah, Stevie Wonder, yeah. And Natalie King Cole.
Okay, yeah, that's not bad.
That King Cole.
Okay.
But again, I still don't recognize them.
You're not a music fan.
People always point out to me. Even later on, we have the gentleman, the guitar guy from Rolling Stone, Ronnie Wood.
Ronnie Wood, yeah.
Yeah, Ronnie Wood was there. I still didn't recognize him. Somebody said, "Oh, you have one of the Stone here." "Oh, really?" So that's where I can tell you that I can recognize probably 95 senators walking to Mei-Wah. I know exactly who they, but not the entertainer because I don't watch a lot of movies.
Okay, sir, questions?
Larry, this is wonderful. It's absolutely amazing to hear your life story, and I'm so thankful that you came to the United States versus Australia, first of all. I can't help thinking, you've said it more than once, that this is kind of the American story, that you as a refugee are able to come here and find success. And a lot of it is built on the politics of the day that allowed the border to be open for you to come in, and the politicians who, created space for folks like you to come live the dream. And I'm wondering what's in your heart and mind as you look out right now at the current political landscape, as there's somebody out there like you that wants to come, and it's going to be challenging. What do you think about when you see this current political environment?
Well, one of the main reasons I want to put, everybody have the story. Everybody in this room have the story, but not many people want to put it down in writing. And I decided, say, I want to do it. And one of the main reasons is to let my other younger generation to read about how we come here as a refugee, how we come here as immigrants, how we work through this. And another thing is we want the general public, American general public, to know that immigrants or refugees, we came here, we work hard, we contribute to the society, we serve into the society here, tax system, everything here. We work hard and we create a lot of jobs for us. Just like the 35 years in the restaurant business, I could say we have thousands of employees that contribute to our tax system too. So I want to let the general public know that refugees, immigrants, and this is the country we build on immigrants anyway for the last many hundred years. So that is the main thing I want to tell the book about refugees and immigrants. And so don't be shy to take more refugees or let immigrants come in, because that's what we need in this country. Thank you.
Hi, Larry. My name is Sandy Dang, and I'm a longtime friend of Larry for 30 years.
Many years.
Yes. So, Larry, I really appreciate you writing the book, and you're right, everyone had a story. So I'm also a Vietnamese, ethnic Chinese, come from Vietnam, and I want you to talk about, what is the process for you? How long did it take you to write the book? What are some of the challenges you face in writing this book, and what discovery that you have as you write this book? So I would love to hear more about the process.
Great question.
Yeah. I've been always want to write the book, and always want to write the book. And I always have the title a long time ago before I even have the book put down the draft, The Square Moon. Let me get to The Square Moon one quick, because when I was in Tennessee working the railroad, we worked the second shift from 3 to 11. And by 10:45 we done. We just wait for the third shift to come in, and then by that time we just and the guy named William Rogers, he's about 60-some years old, and I was about 20-some years old at that time. We sit outside the railroad facility. We just look at the sky and wait for talking, and suddenly he asked me a very unexpected question. Said, "Do you have the same moon we have in Vietnam?" I said, "No." I answered him instantly. I said, "No, our moon is square." And we thought we would have a laugh out of that. But when I looked over him, he kept knocking his head. He said, "Okay, your moon in Vietnam is square." I said, "Bill, I'm kidding with you." But he believed it. So I always had that. And I say, one day if I write a book, I would use the square moon, because the people in Irwin, they are very isolated. They hardly go anywhere. So from then on, I always have in mind that one day, when I have more time, I want to put down everything that I when we left Vietnam, how this thing, and put in writing and also recording. Whenever I remember something, I record that, and how many people I met, and all these people I met in D.C. and all these things. So it took, after when I seriously sit down and write that, it was about a year and a half. But we got help too. We got the editor, the ghostwriter, to help me to swoop out all the story. It's very good. And we have the publisher right here, Joe, is from New York. He's the publisher for my book. Thank you, Sandy.
Did you? That's a great story about Square Moon. The other story I love from the book, which I was hoping you could talk a little bit about, was when the Secretary of the Treasury came into the restaurant and you wouldn't seat him, or he couldn't. There wasn't a seat available for him, and then you took your food to his house, right?
Yeah, actually, that's Lloyd Benson, the Senator Lloyd Benson. He was the Secretary of Treasury, and that's a big deal. I mean, secretary is one of the most important job in not only U.S. but the world. And he walked in with his wife to the City Light of China, and we have a long line, people waiting. I wish he didn't say anything. He said, "Table for two, no reservation." So I could not do anything for him. So I said, I call him Senator because he's a senator from Texas for a long time. I said, "Senator, sorry, we don't have a table for you, probably about 20 minutes. He said, I don't think I want to wait that long. I said, "Well, I'm sorry." So I give him my business card. I said, "Well, call me next time when you come." So to me, it's very, very hard to turn away the secretary of, sure, if it's from Vietnam or in Vietnam, I better buy a table for him. Otherwise, they're going to shut down my restaurant. Seriously. But it happened in the United States. So after he left, about 20 minutes later, he called me back. He said, now he knows my name. I said, "Larry, why don't you fix some dishes? I have my driver come to pick it up. My wife and I going to decide to meet up." At that time, I feel so good about the democracy in this country. How could I turn away a secretary of Treasury and he didn't have bad feeling? He called me back and ordered food and all. I mean, until today, I still feel that the democracy in this country is so important to me and probably to everybody else here. We hope we can keep it going, okay?
Larry, I just want to give you a chance to clarify the record because earlier Michael was giving you a hard time showing only pictures of Democrats, but you are sensitive, and you write about this in the book, to showing some balance on your wall of fame, and you were concerned about just having one-sided photos that you went out of your way, right? You tell a story about going to the Republican convention to get pictures.
Actually, we have at least 3 people. Different people, they're not official, they just normal people, they're Republican. They come to complain to me and then said, "How come you have so many Democrat pictures on the wall and not many Republicans?" I said, "Well, ma'am, if you know any Republican like Chinese food, bring them in. I like to take a picture." And I said, "Well, it's better that I need to mix it up." So I decided to go to the RNC convention in New York City at the time, that was 2004. So before I go there, I call all my Democrat friends and say, "Hey, if you see me on the floor of RNC, don't get upset, okay?" So, but that's when where you can find more Republican than at the RNC convention. So I took picture of everybody. So I mixed it up, everybody happy. So in our business, we cannot take side. We have to be,
Yeah, but Larry, I have to tell you my one story when I was at the Washington Post and I went to cover a Howard Dean rally, which was in College Park, and I was like covering the rally, and then there was a backdrop of people there. I'm looking up there. I said, "There's Larry. What were you doing there with that?" And you seemed a little bit sheepish about that.
One of the delegates in Susan Lee, one of the delegates in Maryland, asked us, Asian American, to go to support Howard Dean at the University of Maryland. I said, "Sure." I said, "Okay, everybody meet at the high school to get on the bus." No, don't worry, I go myself. So I got there. The 3 buses that got stuck on I-95, I couldn't go anywhere. So I was there, and they said, "Okay, get on the stage." I said, "Me on the stage?" So I sit right behind Howard Dean. And he always yelling. And so I carry those things. I have to cover my face. And when I got off, Michael was there at that time, was the Washington Post. Somebody grabbed me from the back, and that's Michael. Said, "Hey, Larry, wait till your Republicans see you." I said, yeah. So in our business, we try to walk a fine line, and that's very hard in D.C. to be, but that's my job. You be very careful with them. Also, yeah.
Oh, hi, Larry. I'm Neutron Pho, and I know you because my father-in-law was your professor, and I was honored to be invited to your restaurant to have that meal, and you were just paying your respect to my father-in-law. But my comment is that thank you for validating that the reason why refugees got admitted to the to Australia is because they have big land and that they could do farming. And that was the same story that my father told me.
Yeah.
But luckily, he by chance, we ended up in the United States. So it's such a coincidence. And thank you for validating that story for me, because I came here when I was 8.
Oh, that's great. Thank you. Yeah, her father-in-law was a very famous dean of the university. Yeah,
In Vietnam?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Oh, we have another prominent journalist there. Hello, Michael.
Larry, I remember during one of my many visits to Mei-Wah, you telling me about a particular ambition that you had in life and how you wanted to achieve this, which showed a very keen knowledge of the American political process. And I don't know if you know what I'm referring to, but if you do.
I do. And besides Michael, Michael was also a journalist. And I met Michael at the RNC convention. At that time, everybody dressed up.
You were going down the escalator, I was going up.
Yeah. And I said, Michael, he said, and I said, hey, Michael, this is Larry. And he looked at me, he couldn't recognize me. I said, this is Michael from Larry from Mei-Wah. I said, oh, what were you here for? I said, and when he saw my credential, I have the credential that I can go everywhere on the convention. Seriously, it's a big deal. I didn't realize that at that time it's a big deal. And Michael said, where you get that credential? I said, Michael, I can't tell you my source. Because that's what all the journalists do. They say, I can't tell you my source. So I give it back to Michael. I said, where you get that? I can't tell you my source.
But my question, you told me you wanted to be ambassador, U.S. ambassador to Vietnam, which I thought was a great idea.
That's always my dream.
Yeah.
But it never happened.
With all the political friends you have, I would think that they should get together.
Well, had Hillary won in 2016, it might be a possibility.
Yeah.
But
right.
But it didn't happen.
What I loved is how you told me you wanted to become ambassador.
Yeah. Well,
you wanted a recess appointment.
Yeah. Only a few months.
The Republicans wouldn't vote for you.
Well,
So you didn't have to go through a confirmation process.
Yeah, the reset. Yeah, that's the best thing to do is to be ambassador. You know, when you're ambassador, one day you're ambassador for life anyway. So I always want to be, because it's a big honor to be the ambassador of the country you're born in, not that where your family from either. You know, it's a big deal for me. And the research during Obama administration, I talked to Pete Rouse. I said, hey, do you think a possibility that ambassador would leave early and then they just need to reset for a few months? I love to be that post. but look like the ambassador at that time, he stayed until the last minute, so couldn't do it. Thank you, Michael, for reminding me that thing. Yeah,
Okay. I think we have time for one more question.
Okay.
Go ahead.
She and I are duking it out.
You can do 2 questions.
She was in line.
That's okay, both of you.
Okay, thank
I'll
you.
be quick. I know Larry from a different genre. I guess it is politics, but Larry, I worked catering events, and Larry's company always catered them at Wexler Walker. And Larry would always, I was a single mom, and Larry would always ask me, how is I doing? How is my daughter? To encourage her to stay in school and to go to college. And he just always talked to me to keep me encouraged when he'd see me work my regular 8-hour day and then stay late to work the event for the extra money. And I just want to tell you that my daughter did graduate from Howard, and she has her own business. And you were
Congratulations.
such an example to us. And I carved out my schedule today to make sure I could come here just to tell you thank you for being an inspiration.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
Larry, I'm Alma Patey. You
My
came
Tennessee
to-
lady.
That's right. I'm from East Tennessee, and just Larry was so lovely to cater an event at our house for the National Teacher of the Year, who is Missy Testerman from East Tennessee, and she also went to ETSU. But my question now is, many people may remember after Helene, Irwin, Tennessee took it on the chin. And it was the helicopters rescuing people from the top of the hospital and the plastics company. And my question to you is just, what have you heard? What is your updates on your hometown?
Yeah, it's really the first time that Irwin, Tennessee was hit that badly. And actually, I was there only about 2-3 weeks before that happened. I visited, you know, people sometimes they settle in this country in some place, they probably won't come back. But I've been back there. That's my hometown. I tell everybody I'm from Irwin, Tennessee, and people say, and I told the mayor of Irwin that I put Irwin on the world map because anytime the Washington Post or the Boomer News ever interview me, say, "Where are you from?" I said, "Irwin, Tennessee." They said, "Where's Irwin?" So I tell you. So actually, Irwin is a very small town, but I still keep in touch with folk back there. I still see the people back there, and people still remember me because I really actually the only one that they sometimes they treat me like a panda. They come to see me there. Yeah, because I just the only Asian there in the whole city, and people just love it. And one day, one couple customer they work for the State Department. For some reason, they have to pass by Irwin, so they say, "Oh, this is the city there." So they stop by. You remember in the old day, and they still have that. The drugstore, not like CVS or the Walgreens. They have drugstore. They have a counter. People eat lunch or dinner there. So they stop by there, they eat lunch there, and they talk to the people. They say, "Oh yeah, we know them." Well, this couple was so happy. And then the other corner of the counter said, "Oh yeah, we remember them." They said, "Wow, this guy left 30 years ago. People still remember him." So it really turned out to be very good.
Larry, thank you so much for sharing your story.
Thank you.
I think it's fair to say, I've been to a lot of events here. This is one of the most packed I've seen it. It's a testament to your legion of friends. Thank you.
All right, so copies of Larry's book are available to check